We are now streaming live. Welcome to, if you're not watching live, to the recording. To the people who joined, it looks like we've got about 11 right now. We're going to go ahead and get started. This is our first.
Mike, can I ask a question, Mike? How do I raise the volume? I can't hear you.
That's on your computer. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it'll be computer by computer.
Yeah. Okay, so we are doing this event to kind of kick off our virtual programming, give a chance to update our members on what we're doing in the organization. For anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Mike Sutton, and I host the BCTV show. I also, a lot of times, will handle AV at the luncheons along with Gordon. So some of you may just have seen me running around like a madman at the luncheon events, but I'm going to host this interview Q&A here with Lynn. For the people who have joined, I'm going to ask everyone to keep themselves muted, and then we will have opportunities to take questions. I can see that Larry's still up on the screen here. Lynn, say something so that we can get you up on the screen.
Okay, I'm saying something.
There we go.
Here I am.
So Lynn, we wanted to set this up to kind of provide a member update, talk about what's happening at the council right now, what we're doing to adapt to the current situation, how it's going to affect programming. So maybe just start by giving us a quick overview of kind of where we are right now and how you're thinking about it and how the executive committee is thinking about, where we are right now, this current situation.
Yeah, certainly the spring programs are mostly going to be canceled, we believe. And our regular getting together and meeting in large groups is just something we can't do right now. What we're trying to do is provide some virtual programming to replace some of those sessions. So one idea we had was to use the Great Decisions videos that are now made public and are up on YouTube to create sessions where we can invite our members to attend. So we've created a special session using a Great Decisions video, and that's going to take place on Wednesday, April 22nd. It's the session called U.S. Relations with the Northern Triangle, and that's El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala. And that's going to be facilitated by Kirk Schaefer, who's professor at Penn State. And what he's going to do is we're going to look at the video, and then he's going to do a lecture after that, and we can do Q&A via Zoom, I believe it'll be, or possibly a Facebook session, I'm not sure. And we'd like to ask some other local college professors to do the same. So we can create some virtual programming while we are in the state we're in right now. So that's one program. And we're looking to do more of those Great Decision-like sessions. The Foreign Policy Association was nice enough to grant us permission to use them within that kind of context. So we're pleased about that. Another program we're going to do virtually is on Wednesday, May 6th at noon. And that is our dear friend, Ron Graneri, who's from the Foreign Policy Research Institute. Ron is the head of the Europe and Western World Division of the Foreign Policy Research Group. And he's going to talk about Europe in the age of Corona. So that session, he'll do a lecture for us virtually for half an hour or more, and we'll have the opportunity to do Q&A. So we're creating those kinds of programs in the interim. The Great Decision sessions, the small group sessions that are usually on, a couple of them are continuing virtually. The Wyomissing Library and the Jewish Community Center are continuing programs as well. So that's some of the things we're trying to do for the spring. And then, of course, there's the fall. And the fall is some great programs that we have lined up. And we don't know what the fall will bring us in terms of programming. We'd love it if we could go back to our great luncheons at the Inn at Reading. That may or may not be the case. So we're thinking about how we might move forward around those programs. And that could be that we would do them virtually. It could be that we would do them live in a group and also do them virtually, since we're beginning to learn how to do that. Or some other alternative that we might do gatherings as some programs and virtual as other programs. We have to kind of get our bearings around what the fall might look like. So this is something that every other World Affairs Council is struggling with as well right now. So that's just a brief overview of what we're trying to do, Mike.
I think you covered most of what we wanted to get through on the call. We're through most of the agenda. So this is our first attempt at the live streaming, and we will take some Q&A. It looks like we've got about 18 people on the call. So if anybody has a question, you can type it into the chat. Or I think, if you're familiar with the controls, there are kind of ways to get attention, but the chat's the best place to start. You can signal there that you want to ask a question. So I'll just mention, in terms of how we're trying to approach this, right now we're obviously doing this on a Zoom video conference. So there are members who have joined this conference live or on the call with us. We can see some of them, we can hear some of them, and you guys can hear us. So this is a very interactive format. We are also right now broadcasting this stream to our Facebook channel. So when we promote these events, there'll be a couple ways you can join. You can either join the Zoom, if that's available. You can go to our Facebook page, the WAC Writing Facebook page on Facebook, or we also have set up wacwriting.org/live. And right now I have the stream embedded there too. So if anybody just wanted to watch, maybe wasn't comfortable jumping on Zoom, they could use either the Facebook page or jump on wacwriting.org/live to see the Facebook stream. So Lynn, what have we seen? You've had some Zoom training with the World Affairs Council of America.
Right.
They've been talking about what some of the other chapters are doing around the country. What are you hearing from them?
Well, the World Affairs Council of America has about 90 affiliates around the country. So, and we have, many of them are large organizations with paid staff, like the one in Philadelphia, the one in Pittsburgh, and many are like us, all volunteer organizations. So it's different. They're trying to be helpful to both kinds of chapters. So for example, if you're a Philadelphia World Affairs Council, you've shut your doors, people are going home to work. They are a not-for-profit. They're applying for grants to keep their organization together while they really have no income right now for their programs. So they're struggling to figure out ways to create virtual programs, to eventually charge for those programs so they can stay solvent and find other ways to run money while they're running their membership drives, and they have to stay alive. If you're more like us, all volunteer organization, you are figuring out how you're going to create virtual programs, how you're going to stay relevant to your membership, finding ways to increase communication. So the World Affairs Council of America has put out numerous webinars, seminars that we can take advantage of. And we are advertising those in our weekly Constant Contact, committed to doing that weekly so we can give people as much information as possible about what's available. They're committed to doing training. You'd mentioned that, Mike, Zoom training for everyone. That took place yesterday, and you can access that on their website if you want to take part in learning about that. So they are concerned about their solvency and for the future as well. They're applying for grants to stay afloat. But they are erring on the side of lots of communication with us, and we really like that because we can make them one of our affiliates that is giving us extra programming right now when we need it. So that's really a great advantage. They're working hard to be very relevant to us at this time, and they're making it up as they go along. In a good way. And that's some of what we're doing as well.
Yeah, making it up as we go along. I think we're all in that same boat, probably everyone in the country. And keeping that communication going, as you mentioned, we have our email newsletter. We're trying to step up the frequency of that. So we've been sending it out weekly with links to not only our programming, but some of that Foreign Policy Institute programming, the World Affairs Council of America programming. So there's a lot of information and there are a lot of opportunities to continue to receive good content. For our part, we've got, this is our first live event. We have over the next 2 weeks events coming up. The next one is Great Decisions, I believe. So I see David Carroll's on the line. David, do you want to just kind of talk about what we're doing with the Great Decisions right now, how we're approaching that?
Sure, very briefly, Mike. As Lynn said, we've got Dr. Schaefer, Professor Schaefer of Penn State Berks, talking about the Northern Triangle, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. The launching off point to so many of our immigrants to our southern border that have been such a focus of news coverage recently. And Dr. Schaefer, we've heard him before speak, and we've always enjoyed him, found him to be very knowledgeable and very humorous. So he's, as Lynn said, he's coming up on Wednesday the 22nd, right, Lynn?
That's right.
And then Ron Grenier is, as Lynn said, a really friend of the organization. He's coming up, and correct me if I'm wrong, his subject is going to be the coronavirus and its impact upon foreign affairs.
More or less, yep, with a focus on Europe.
Mm-hmm. So, and we're additionally working with reaching out to other people, other professors in the area to talk about other possible subjects connected with Great Decisions that would be have a video accompanying any presentation that they might make. All of that is coming up and in process.
Great, thanks, David. And again, this presentation that we're doing right now, this Zoom meeting, broadcasting to Facebook, practicing the technology. So when we have these next two events on the upcoming Wednesdays, this is roughly going to be the format. We'll conduct them as Zoom meetings. We'll try to broadcast them simultaneously to our Facebook page, and then also publish them on our website, wacreading.org/live. And those will be available not just as the meeting is happening, but also archived then on Facebook for later consumption if you can't make it to the live meeting, or again, just aren't comfortable joining on Zoom. And this is, can be kind of an open Q&A. We've got about 21 people on the line in addition to Lynn and I. So if anybody has a question, go ahead and type that into the chat and we should have time to answer that. We're getting through this content pretty quickly. And if anybody else, we've got other people from the board, other people from the executive committee. If anyone else wants to add anything, then feel free to jump in. And looking at, again, I think we covered a lot of what we want to cover. The other question that is probably coming up a lot is what's happening with membership right now, Lynn? How are we handling, like, now's the end, kind of approaching the end of our programming year. What do we expect this to impact our scheduling in that time where we would normally be off? And what's going to happen to the membership renewals as we come into this part of the year?
Well, we want to move ahead with membership so we can keep some programming going. And if we have to create new kinds of programming, like new technology to do our fall programs with, we would need some of that membership money to be able to do that. So we're hoping people will renew their membership. We're going to mail that out probably later this month, and asking people to register early if they can. We have actually, Mike, if I'm just going to take a quick minute, we have a great fall and early winter lineup. We have programs that actually this month, April, we were supposed to have Jessica Brandt, who is with Brookings on foreign influence in democracies, what to look for in 2020. We've rescheduled her for October 14th. Hopefully it'll be live, but it may be a virtual program. We also have a program in June on COVID-19, global health, with Mary Keim from the Tower Health Group. In the fall, we have a program on India. You hear a lot about India in the news right now, and 1 billion people in lockdown. Milan Vashnar from the Carnegie Endowment is coming to speak on that, or will be a virtual presenter on that topic. In November, we're focusing on China with Robert Daly, who's at the Wilson Center and head of the Kissinger Institute on China. In December, Professor John Dernbach at Widener University will speak on climate change. In January of 2021, John Walsh, CEO of UGI, will talk on global energy. And we just got a commitment from William Pomerantz, who's at the Wilson Center, and he's an expert on Russia and a former ambassador. So those are the kinds of programming we want to continue to bring to our membership. And we need help with people renewing membership now to help us out as an organization. That would be great.
Yeah, to be able to keep these programs going. So we do have a question. I don't know if this is a question, Lynn, for you or possibly for David Carroll. Zane asked if somebody didn't sign up for Great Decisions this season, how do they get access to the book and to the online sessions? Is that something they can pay for, that they have to pay for? What's happening with
that? Surely. The online session, the online sessions are open to participation by people who didn't sign up, given the circumstances. We would like, the hosts would like not to overwhelm the numbers who are participating, just because there's a level of participation in terms of numbers of people that impacts the discussion. But generally, if someone wants to participate in the discussion, they can reach out to WAC, contact us through that means, and then I'll get the word, and then get them the linkage to the linkage and the time for the Great Decision sessions. As Lynn indicated, there are two of our host organizations, the JCC, the Jewish Community Center, and the Wyomissing Public Library, who are doing virtual Great Decisions programs. So if you want to participate, contact WAC. I'll get the word and get you the link and the password, etc.
And our session next week with Dr. Schaefer is based on the Great Decisions programming. So what we're going to do is actually, I think right now the plan is to ask people to watch the video ahead of time. Or we may end up actually playing the video as part of the presentation, and we're going to get a presentation from Dr. Schaefer on that conference call like we're doing here with Zoom. And then at the end, again, have time for some Q&A, a little bit different format than the guided discussion of Great Decisions that we normally follow. But we are going to be using the same content and be able to, oh, sorry, I'm messing up my video here. So we're going to share those videos. We're going to have a presentation. We're going to have some Q&A on that same content. David, what's the role that we don't have the books for these virtual presentations. What are we going to miss out on? What do we need to do to make up for that? What's the role that the books play, and how are we going to handle that in these virtual presentations?
Well, I think that I don't think anyone who doesn't have the book is going to miss much, because we've got great facilitator, particularly in the case of Dr. Schaefer, who's very knowledgeable. I've just emailed him regarding the material that's in the book, and he will cover that to the extent that the extent he thinks it's pertinent. So people can effectively pick up the book content through our facilitator, Dr. Schaefer, in the case of the triangle.
Yeah, excellent. So anything else you want to add on Great Decisions, David or Lynn?
I don't think
well,
so.
As I said, we're looking to make connections with other professors to bring up other subjects that we might do. Something like climate change is a potential subject that we're looking at. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And do we need referrals for experts in those areas? We have people that we're reaching out to. What's the status of that?
Oh, if anybody has any thoughts of people who could do some of the facilitation, that would be very much welcomed. But and one of the things to keep in mind with our local college professors right now is all of them are trying to figure out how to do virtual teaching and classes and running a whole different way of educating their students. So they're pretty consumed right now. They're they're overloaded with that kind of responsibility and figuring out ways to deliver probably in the fall. So any ideas of folks who might facilitate some of these sessions would be absolutely great.
Awesome, thanks. And then speaking of our college professors, Randy asked a question about how members can stay up to date on the programming. Are we putting them on the website? And I think you've already started to see some of that. We've stepped up the pacing of our email newsletter that we send out. We've been sending that out each week on a Friday to talk about the programs that are coming up. And I will make sure that as we're sending those links out each week, that we keep that current and up to date. So for right now, I think the current link for next week's presentation just refers you to blackwedding.org/live. And I will also always make sure that the current links are there. And then as those events get closer, we'll give you more updated information. So for next week, we'll set up the Zoom meeting. We'll provide the Zoom link so you can join that way. We'll provide the Facebook link so you can join that way. And then again, blackwedding.org/live will always be kind of an aggregator for this kind of content as much as possible. I'll make sure it also gets published there. And we are keeping our event calendar updated as well. And Gordon's been helping a lot with that to make sure that as the locations change, as we reschedule things to be virtual, as we have to announce cancellations, that the website is always up to date. And you can see that if you go to blackwedding.org, in the top, in the menu bar, there's a menu item for events, and then you can see upcoming events in that menu to always know what's coming up, or, you know, unfortunately, recently some of what's been canceled. And Lynn, anything you'd add to that?
I don't think so, Mike. I think if people really do look at our Constant Contact newsletter, what we're trying to do is not only share with you in those newsletters what we're doing, but what's going on at the Foreign Policy Research Institute in Philadelphia. What are some of their programs you can tap into? What are some of the programs you can tap into from the World Affairs Council of America? We're also adding some of the newly created virtual programs that the World Affairs Council of Philadelphia is creating, and just trying to make sure you have knowledge of lots of activities you can tap into from our affiliates. I think our affiliates do so much good work that we should really be taking advantage of the kind of programming they're doing as well as our own programs.
Absolutely. And again, we're trying to promote that every week with our email newsletter. I think we've pushed out a lot of good content where you have the opportunity to register for webinars that WAC is sponsoring, Foreign Policy Institute, a lot of great programming there. In addition to our own, we've got, again, this event, 2 more events on the next 2 Wednesdays. So hope to see everybody participating virtually, and we'll also be archiving that on the Facebook channel. All right, I don't see any new questions here. There's still a little bit of time. If anybody wants to jump in, you can toss that in the chat. There's too many people for me to see everybody on the Zoom, so any kind of hand signaling I'm probably not picking up on. Your best chance would be to use that chat. And as these meetings hopefully get larger, we'll continue to see that. The other opportunity I think you have is if you're familiar with how the participation window works, you can actually send some signals to us that way. But I'm not seeing anything on the line. Lynn, anything, final thought? Oh, we got a couple more questions.
I do see something from Nevin. Do you see that?
Yeah, we've got a couple. So Nevin asks, I believe the Reading Public Library is also doing virtual programming. Possibly Larry Cohen can confirm this. So let's see if we can unmute Larry. Oh, maybe he's got himself muted.
No, I unmuted myself.
There you go.
And I don't have an answer to that question. All I know is that the program that I was going to lead in Great Decisions last week at the library did not occur.
Okay. Any idea where people can look for the most current information on that?
This is
answer that, and that is, can you hear me?
Yep, you're up, Chris.
I can answer about the Reading Public Library, and it is not doing virtual programming, and they have canceled all the programs that were to occur. Because I was enrolled in that group.
Got it. Okay, thanks, Chris.
This is David Carroll. I can confirm that the Wyomissing Public Library is doing a virtual Great Decisions. It's going to start Monday night at 7 o'clock. And if anyone, soon as I have the information regarding the linkage and password, etc., we'll make sure that it gets anyone who's interested in participating.
Yeah, and if you get that, David, you know, this week we can include it in Friday's email out to the membership, or you know, we have that Friday email going out every week. We can, as soon as you have that information, we can start including it there. The other question that came in is,
great, Mike.
Is there anyone who can talk on the effect of the USA holding funding from the WHO? So this is going to get into some expert content here. Anybody on the line, maybe one of our professors who's lurking in the wings, has any can speak a little bit to this WHO issue and the funding that's going on?
Well, I might be able to take a crack at it if you wish. Okay. Of course, our obligations to these international organizations come out of a appropriation. I don't know the account for the WHO. The 150 account would be for like the World Bank and those institutions. But this is basically, to my knowledge, congressional appropriation. So you can make an argument that this is not a legal action. You can't. The executive cannot withhold funding that has already been appropriated and obligated by Congress. But it's been done, of course, quite a bit in the last couple of years.
Yeah, that sounds familiar for some reason.
And Mike, on World Health Organization, we had a great speaker maybe 3 years ago, Jose Esparza, Dr. Esparza, who worked for the WHO, lived in Switzerland, and then eventually worked for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And we might be able to he's retired, but we might be able to tap into him and see if we could get a virtual program with some insight as to what's going on there.
Yeah, that would be great. Great. All right. Any other questions from anybody on the line? Final thoughts? We about ready to wrap up here, Lynn?
Yeah, let me just say, for Great Decisions, the videos are available on YouTube, and all you have to do is go Great Decisions 2020. You have access to any of those videos to look at. We all have some time on our hands. You might want to just check that out. There's one on climate change, India and Pakistan, the Northern Triangle, China and Latin America, the Philippines, artificial intelligence and data. The topics are great. The quality of those videos is very high. And as we want to develop programs around them, just taking a look at some of those videos for folks would be a good use of your time. And you probably won't have the opportunity again, since they'll probably be restricted in the future to some other kind of use. So it's an opportunity to look up a great program.
And we had included the links to those videos in earlier email newsletters out to the membership. As we announce these programs coming up, I'll also try to remember to reference those videos. We will. I'm not sure what the final decision was on whether we want to actually show that video in line with the presentation, in front of the presentation as we do it live next Wednesday, or if we'll just send that out in advance and ask you to watch. But we'll clarify that in the email newsletter as it comes out this week. All right. Sounds like we're there. Thanks for everybody for jumping on. Go ahead, David.
Just in support of what Lynn had to say about membership, we're working on getting membership cards out to people, possibly stuffed in the newsletters. Certainly, there'll be a mass substantial mailing shortly down the line on membership. It would really be helpful if people would think about and try to renew their membership for next year as early as possible, as a show, amongst other things, as a show of faith in the future of the organization in this crazy time under these crazy circumstances.
Yeah, we recognize that. I mean, everything's up in the air for everyone. There are a lot of financial demands. There are a lot of organizations trying to get by, and you know, we have historically depended on having these live in-person events, our monthly luncheons, our monthly breakfasts. But we do want to keep this content coming. We're working really hard to continue to drive value to the membership, to continue to build the organization. And so, you know, now's the time to renew those memberships. We're going to be sending those out in the next month. All right. Thanks for joining, everyone. Lynn, do you want to close us out here?
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone who attended today. And we look forward to seeing you next week on April 22nd and hope you'll join that program as well.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We will see you next Wednesday. Keep an eye out for the email newsletters, and we will talk again soon. Bye.
And Mike and Lynn could just stay on the line, stay on a little bit so we can talk.
Yeah, let me just stop the stream here. And I will kill the recording.